right, welcome to another episode of the Blerdcalibur Podcast. We've got a lot of news to run through today. We've got a lot of entertainment news and we got a lot of gaming news that we're going to be covering today. So first, let's jump into a news story that's just a little bit close to my heart. In the fact that Velma, in some way, shape, or form, got a season 2. Now, I did a review for season 1 of Velma when it came out, and it was atrocious. The season was absolutely horrible. It's basically raunchy Minda Kaling humor that, for the most part, doesn't really land or fit in the story that she's attempting to tell, with the over sexualization of certain characters and then the underutilization of other characters. It is a horrible Scooby-Doo adaptation. And I'm talking about them all. As somebody who is a fan of Scooby-Doo, who watched A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, the original Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine, like all of the different cartoon variant shows that we have gotten over the years, in some way, shape, or form, I have sat down and I have watched these shows. I thought I was going to go into Velma, and it was basically going to focus on our resident favorite nerd, how she came to be who she is, how she basically came to be a part of the Mystery Machine team. It wasn't that at all. I believe that this is a vanity project. And in what I mean when I say I believe this is a vanity project, Mindy Kaling is the type of person that, in my opinion, is living off of the fame of the one character that she played that blew up and became famous. And of course, this is the character she played on The Office. And to be quite honest, her character on The Office wasn't even that great. I hated her character and I hated Ryan's character. And anytime either of those characters were on screen, I was annoyed to no end. Every other character in the show is way better than her character in particular. But she was a part of this really, really big and really, really popular series, and then she used that popularity to springboard herself into other projects and make a name for herself. The problem is, I feel as though the best character she's ever done was the first character that she essentially created. Now, she had a show that was basically about herself, which I think was the Mindy Project. I think the Mindy Project might have been the one where it told her story, but then also told the story of her growing up in her household when she was younger. Whoever the young actress is that plays in that role, fantastic. Mindy Kaling seeds in particular, whatever. The idea that this series essentially got a season 2 is crazy to me, especially with all of the things that were essentially canceled by HBO and Warner Brothers Discovery. We had the cancellation of, not even the cancellation, we had the paring down for the funds in regards to Superman and Lois, where they slashed the budget in half. The cancellation of Stargirl, which in my opinion was probably their second best show that they had essentially created. The paring down and the rushed closure of The Flash, the paring down and the rushed closure of Supergirl, the paring down and the rushed closure of Black Lightning. The only one that actually got a serious ending, in my opinion, was Arrow, that didn't feel rushed in any way, shape, or form. It just ended the way in which it was supposed to end, because this character started the journey, and this is how this character's journey essentially comes to be. The cancellation of Raised by Wolves, which in my opinion was one of the most interesting and crazy out there sci-fi psychedelic journeys that I've been on in the past few years. Warner Brothers and HBO have been canceling things just left and right. Left, right, center. So the idea that Velma was able to somehow squeak by a season 2 must mean that its costs must be damn near nothing. Where they were just like, yeah, we can throw some dollars towards this. We're not really tripping about this. We can throw some funds this way. Because it's not on the same level as a major production. So go ahead and throw Mindy Kaling a little bit of funds. I'll go over there and have her fun. Please stop. Do not give this show a season 3. I have no idea who's watching this show. When I sit down and I talk to people that are watching current TV, I'm hearing Fallout. I'm hearing the Mayfair Witches, the one with Alexandra Daddario. There's a bunch of properties that are currently on Netflix that people are watching, and there's a bunch of stuff on Hulu people are watching. Nobody is sitting down like, God damn, man. God damn. I can't wait until season 3 of Velma drops so we can finally figure out who it is that's impostering somebody in the Mystery Machine. No. Stop. Let's just move on. You cancel shit left and right for no reason whatsoever. You can cancel this. Because there's no reason, in my opinion, for this show to exist in any way, shape, and form. Staying in the animation lane, we're actually going to jump over to Mufasa. Now, for a lot of people who don't know, Disney is currently working on a Lion King prequel, which tells the story of Mufasa and how Mufasa essentially ended up becoming the wise king. And people are up in arms. They're calling it soulless. They're saying it's a cash grab. Allow me to interject my 2 cents, especially since it's my podcast. I can say whatever the hell I want. I don't give a fuck. Not in regards to this. I want this. I don't give a fuck what people have to say about it. And what I mean by that is, when I was a kid, I wanted to know more about Mufasa and Scar. Like, what was their relationship like in the past? Why is it that Mufasa lives in the main cave with, like, 7 lion baddies, and Scar is delegated to live in, like, a cave around the back at the bottom of the mountain by himself, barely looking for scraps? What led to that power imbalance between both of these two brothers? Why is it that both of these two brothers, whereas Mufasa looks at Scar as, like, his brother, Scar looks at Mufasa as, like, the guy that's in my way? What led to that? What was the situation that led to Mufasa being chosen as king over Scar? What led to Scar's overall resentment of Mufasa? Is this going to be like a Thor and Loki type situation? What's happening there? I've always wanted to know more about that story. I've always been interested in someone basically telling me that story. And funnily enough, I'm one of those few people that actually sat down and watched all of the Lion Kings. So Lion King 1, Lion King 2, Lion King 2.5, which I think was with Timon and Pumbaa, Lion King 3, which dealt with Simba's daughter and her encountering Scar's son, which technically that would make them cousins, but we're not going to go there. I've always been interested in those stories because Lion King was one of those. It was one of those animated films that left a mark on me, and I can name a bunch of them: Lion King, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Tarzan. Like, there are a bunch of animated films that stay in my mind because I was wowed by them as a child. Lilo and Stitch, things along those lines. So me getting more from this universe, learning the backstory about this brotherly rivalry, I don't see it as a cash grab. Disney does a bunch of cash grab shit. I'm actually looking at this and going into this eyes open and optimistic that it's actually going to tell a very, very good story. And the person who is going to be the director of this film is Barry Jenkins, who did Moonlight, and he's fantastic. So if he's in charge of essentially creating this film and telling a story about how a boy becomes the king and how brothers essentially fall out and become enemies, I have nothing but faith that this guy is going to be able to achieve that. But apparently, a bunch of people online, the talking heads online, refuse to believe that Mr. Jenkins is going to be able to do that, because he basically did a Q&A where he was answering things on his Twitter, and everyone was coming at him like, "Oh, you're selling out. You're selling out to Disney, and they're soulless. And how can you sign up with Disney when they treat their animated CGI artists so horribly?" Here's the thing. People in the CGI field have been getting the wrong end of the stick for probably about 30, 40 years. It used to be the stop motion guys. Like the stop motion guys were both beloved but also not taken seriously. It's like, how can I take you seriously? Like on set, the actors would be like, how can I take you seriously when, like, you know, you're dressed up as like an alien right now? How can I take that seriously? Until you actually see it brought to life on screen, they're like, damn, this guy actually put in work. The difference is with the CGI, there's no one physically on set. Everything is basically done in a studio. So it's easier to write off those studios. But it's also super easy to outsource studio work to people around the world in shitty countries where they're not going to be getting paid well, or a paid a means in order to live a decent life. Um this It's not a Disney problem. It's it is actually majorly a Disney problem, because Disney's been gobbling up so many studios over the years that are so major that it feels as though it's only Disney. It's everyone. I know that it feels as though it's only Disney because for whatever reason you've decided to put yourself into a corner where Disney basically owns all the things that you love: Marvel, Star Wars, all of their original Disney projects that they're attempting to bring to live action, things along those lines. Like, you've locked yourself into that corner where it's like, oh my god, Disney owns everything that I enjoy. But it's a Disney issue, it's a DC issue, it's a Fox issue, it's a Paramount issue, it's an issue across the board, and it really requires a major change in the way in which movies are created before these guys essentially start to get not really I'm looking for a word here, and the word for the most part currently escapes me. But for them to start to receive not only the respect, but also the type of managing that allows them to not be put into situations where they have to crunch for 45 days creating one scene, not to be overworked because the studio doesn't want to hire extra hands to assist them, but to basically be put into an environment that they will be able to thrive and not be stressed out. Everything has to be changed from top to bottom. The whole system has to be reworked, and the system isn't going to be reworked because you feel as though Disney's a shill and they're creating soulless prequels and sequels of the things that you enjoy. That's always going to be there. There's always going to be soulless prequel and sequels that exist that are going to take a piss at everything you used to love as a child. I am one of those people that I believe that the first Transformers movie is absolutely fantastic. By the time I got to the fifth Transformers movie, I was like, okay, now we're just making the soulless sequels. Then we started to get Bumblebee and Rise of Beasts, and I was like, finally, we're back on the sauce, baby. Everything is looking great. And one of the major things that I feel as though, which is funny, is that period of time between, let's say, Transformers 2 and Transformers 5 really burnt out the audience, so that by the time they arrived at the point where good, heartfelt Transformers movies were actually being made, they weren't going to go and see them and support them. And it ends up kind of dragging the franchise down, and the franchise kind of ends up going away. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping we keep on getting Transformers things, because I know that we're allegedly supposed to be getting a Transformers versus G.I. Joe, or a Transformers G.I. Joe team up. It would be dope as hell to see the Autobots and the Joes team up to fight the Decepticons and Cobra. I'm telling you right now, that happens, and my mind is going to melt and ooze out of my ears for basically bringing this to life. Because when I was a kid, I remember playing with my Joes and my Autobots, and having Decepticons and Cobra. Like, it made the most sense having Megatron and Cobra Commander team up, and then having Optimus team up with Joe, with the Joes. So, yes. And when I say the Joes, I basically mean, I don't know why I thought Storm Shadow. I'm not looking at Storm Shadow. Storm Shadow's on the side of Cobra. I'm looking at, good God, I can't remember his name. It completely escaped me at the very, very last moment. You've got Duke, and Duke and my boy, the ninja, he's not coming to me. I've completely lost his name. You know what? We're gonna Google this. Storm Shadow. We're gonna Google this. I like how I Google Storm Shadow and it's not even Storm Shadow from the Joes. It's like the Storm Shadow missile costs so and so $1 million and blah 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 blah. I'm like, no, I'm not here for I'm not here for him. I'm here for Snake Eyes. There we go. Jesus. That was absolutely horrible. But yeah, I only had Duke and Snake Eyes. I didn't really have most of the other Joes. So having Optimus team up with those two to take on Cobra Commander, Megatron, Starscream, Storm Shadow, Lockdown, like so many. I kind of feel as though I'm a Decepticon fanboy. Am I? Am I a Decepticon fanboy? I feel as though I operate in that weird space where I feel like Megatron and Magneto are basically both of the same character. But the issue is one's a robot and the other's a mutant. But I feel as though if they were ever to meet each other, they would both come to an understanding that, yeah, our people really ain't shit. But, yeah. Like I said, super excited for Mufasa. Can't wait for Mufasa to drop. But all of this whole soulless and all of these other, like, negative attacks coming from left and right and blah, 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 whatever. I don't care about any of that. It's the same type of people that when anything comes out, they complain about it. And then when it comes out and it's actually popular, they're like, see, I told you from the beginning. I told you from the beginning this was going to be the greatest thing ever. And look at it. It's the greatest thing ever. I don't pay those people any type of mind. I don't think Barry Jenkins should be paying those people any type of mind. He should just, like, focus up on putting out probably the best prequel that's ever been made and just enjoying his life. Moving on, story-wise, we're actually going to be staying inside of the Disney bubble, and we're actually going to be jumping over to Star Wars. So, boy. So, Star Wars The Acolyte is going to be the next Star Wars film that's going to be dropping. And oh boy, if it isn't already divisive. Which, funnily enough, I feel as though anything that is essentially anything that's been created from the Star Wars brand over the last few years has always been divisive. The Obi-Wan film was divisive. There's people that love it. There's people that hate it. Ahsoka's divisive. People that love it. People that hate it. Bad Batch, divisive. People that love it. People that hate it. The last season of Clone Wars, divisive. People that love it. People that hate it. The people that hate the last season of the Clone Wars always have like these really, really weird arguments that make me realize that they're all functioning on like one brain cell, and that brain cell is in the process of having a stroke. Because the argument is always about the CGI. I don't like the fact that Disney spent more money to upgrade the CGI for the last season of Clone Wars because it doesn't look like the original CGI for Clone Wars. It looks more like an advanced version of the CGI that we saw on Star Wars Rebels. Shut up. What are you even... Why are you even in the room with everybody else who has a logical reason as to why they don't probably like the last season of Clone Wars? Now, I'm not saying their logical reason is one that I accept. It's absolutely insane to me that you have an issue with the last season of Clone Wars. Like, I feel as though if you have any hate, that should be saved for Star Wars Resistance, because that show was absolute fucking garbage. But for the most part, Star Wars is now one of those things that is exceptionally divisive. There are people that look in the tea leaves and they look in the bones to see whether or not there is something that they can yank out and say, see, here, woke. It's the same thing with Star Wars. Acolyte wants to discover that the lead of the show, was going to be female. Everybody started jumping up and down, hopping mad, absolutely fucking upset for the wildest and weirdest and strangest of reasons. But recently, the director came out and said that they were going to be going in a direction away from George Lucas's original vision. And I'm gonna read the comment. All right. So she says, honestly, the way I look at it is there is no light without darkness, no good without bad. So to me, and this might just be a personal thing, the Force is about balance and not just a Marvel superpower. The Force sensitive aren't using telekinesis because they're special, powerful people. It's because they've achieved balance. As Yoda says, my ally is the Force, so the idea of a separation from that was really interesting. If you are unbalanced, the Force cannot protect you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was written by somebody who does not understand the way in which Star Wars works and the Force works. like I'm extremely sorry. It's the only being in the universe who has balance is the Bendu that we met in Star Wars Rebels. He's the only one who has mastered the art of balancing both the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force. The Jedi and the Sith are not in balance. They are in harmony with the Force, but they are not in balance with the Force. What I mean is that the Jedi pull on the light side of the Force, and there are so many Jedi pulling on the light side of the Force that its powers are sometimes a little bit diluted in regards to the Sith, who draw from the dark side of the Force, but concentrate that power in only two, in both a master and an apprentice. Now, you could say that the reason why the master is so much more powerful is because it's not an even split. It's not 50-50. It's more like 70-30, 75-25. 75 of that draw is going into the master, 25 of it is going into the apprentice. That way, when the apprentice kills the master, for a moment, they take in the entirety, well, they become a conduit of the dark side of the Force. If you've ever read the Darth Sidious, no, I think it was the Dark Plagueis book. Yeah, it was definitely the Dark Plagueis book with Palpatine. In the moment that Palpatine kills Plagueis and he becomes the new Sith Lord, he says he's standing out, it's either on a balcony or it's out in a field. And he says that he feels the totality of the dark side of the Force coursing through his body, where it's almost as if he's become one with all of the stars just in the night sky, that he had become the darkness that essentially wraps itself around all of them. So no, there is no balance. Now, one of the other things that we really have to talk about in regards to this statement is Yoda. Because for whatever reason, we decided to start off this High Republic era only a few hundred years before the main story, which I still believe is a horrible idea. I think that the High Republic should have been 1,000 years before I think the High Republic should have been about 1,500 years before the current Skywalker saga. And then the Old Republic should have been around 5,000 years before that. And the reason why I say that is because Yoda's species is extremely long-lived, which means that he shows up here as a young man, or young in regards to his race. And it's actually Yoda himself that is the reason that the Jedi end up in the precarious situation they end up in during the Skywalker saga, which is that Yoda, when he becomes and starts moving towards being a master and then becoming a Grand Master of the entire order, he begins to make them more dogmatic, where they're more, oh, the Sith don't exist, where we only focus upon the light, we don't form connections anymore with anybody else, we don't do marriage. He begins to get rid of the things that make the Jedi people, and he begins to basically move them away from interacting with the public outside of being sent on missions by the Senate to being more of an insular organization and an insular group that cuts themselves off from their connections and their emotions and things along those lines, which is why we encounter a more dogmatic Jedi in the prequels. That is because of Yoda steering them in that direction. Now, I feel as though if you wanted to essentially introduce a new concept to Star Wars. Because of the High Republic era and before Yoda begins making these changes, instead of talking about, oh, it's balance between the light side and the dark side, and it's not about the separation, and if you're unbalanced, you can't use the Force. No. You should have focused on the Jedi being more personable. That they crack jokes, they laugh, they drink beer, they fall in love. They have relationships, they have families, they have, or maybe they don't have families, but they have kids. They're more hot-headed, they're more rash. You made the Jedi more of an emotional organization. And then you have Yoda essentially come in and start making these changes, and on the surface make it look as though these changes make sense, that these changes are being implemented for a reason, because they have to essentially rein in some of the situations and stupidity that the Jedi may be finding themselves in. Like, you know, a Jedi who's out drinking in a bar, who gets into a bar brawl, or something on the side that makes the Order look bad. You move away from the personable Jedi that the people in Coruscant see every single day, and you turn them into like this super secretive cult that the people of the universe really don't know anything about, except for the stories that they were essentially told when they were kids by like their elders or something along those lines. Because by saying that, you know, oh, it's all about balance, you kind of end up messing up the story for Anakin. You end up messing up the story for Luke. You end up messing up the story for Rey, for all of these other characters that, for the most part, they aren't balanced. They find themselves strictly in the light. Rey finds herself strictly in the light. Luke finds himself strictly in the light. There are times where Luke allows dark thoughts to creep into his mind, and then he feels ashamed, and then he banishes those dark thoughts by remembering that he's supposed to be walking the path of the Jedi, and the Jedi walk in the light. You make that a mainstay. Now, if you were saying that this whole, you know, we have to find balance thing was something that was taking place after the Skywalker saga with Rey, after Luke realizes that walking in the light is the right path, but it's not the right path for the Jedi, because the Jedi are supposed to, or a Force user is supposed to walk in balance, in lockstep with both the light and the darkness, but then allowing themselves to basically have this clear level of judgment in trying to do the right thing. If this is a story that you were trying to tell or introduce after all of that, the lessons that were basically learned, where Luke is like, yeah, I remade the entire Jedi Order to only be on the light side of things, the same way Yoda did, and it failed. I should have remade the Jedi Order to be more balanced with light and dark, teaching that the darkness isn't something to be afraid of, but it is a path down. It is a source that leads to a path that could lead you to damaging the ones you love, hurting the ones you love. It makes you walk a path that may change you fundamentally from the person that you are. Then I would more or less accept this summarization. But the summarization that is essentially being introduced in regards to the Force, where the Jedi have to walk this line of balance, which is set hundreds of years before that is even a concept that any of the Jedi would be willing to even acknowledge or accept, is flawed. We can't get jiggy with this shit. Not at all. Not at all. Because even with the Clone Wars introducing that's another thing. The Clone Wars introducing the idea of the Mortis gods, where you've got the son, the daughter, and the father being the one who maintains the balance. You only introduce that concept in Clone Wars, and then that concept disappears, more or less because, you know, Anakin lost his shit due to the machinations of the son. But that concept disappears, and then it reappears later on in Star Wars Rebels with the Bendu, where the Bendu is like, you know, you have to find a level of balance. you lean too much into the light, then the darkness is going to have to rebalance everything, which the darkness may create a ultra powerful Sith in order to rebalance everything. You lean too far into the darkness, then the light is going to have to rebalance everything by creating an ultra powerful light user in order to rebalance both sides of the Force. So the Acolyte being the one to delve deeper into the concept of balance, that's no. That's no. I was sorry. No. Even Ahsoka, the show Ahsoka, is just now starting to get. This is why we leave Dave Filoni to write everything. See, Dave Filoni understands. Dave Filoni is the person that you need to run. And before you even release a statement, you need to go walk over to Dave Filoni's office, open up the door, and be like, "Look, Dave, I have this stance that I have in regards to the light and the darkness and how the Force works, and I really feel as though, 700 years before the Skywalker saga, that the Jedi should be all about balancing both the light side and the dark side." And then Dave Filoni be like, "Yeah, but no, because 700 years before, 700 years before the Skywalker saga, like these guys didn't understand the idea of balance. They were all about the light side of the Force, and them running around using the light side of the Force is what allowed the Sith to grow and fester into shadows until the Sith became just as strong, or I'd say even stronger than the Jedi, and then they overthrew the Jedi. But then when they overthrew the Jedi, the Force had to make a balance in some way, shape, or form, because all the Jedi were dying. So of course you had Vader and Palpatine as these two major dark side users. So the Force is like, okay, we're going to create these two kids in the form of Luke and Leia, who are going to be able to be the ones who are going to balance that side. This is why you run things past Dave Filoni. just walk over to his office. You guys work in the exact same building. Just take those 15 steps over to his office and be like, "Look, Dave, I'm about to send this tweet out, or I'm about to post this thing on Reddit. I just give me your thoughts." That way he can tell you whether or not you're smart or whether or not your idea is shite. Because the idea of like I said, the idea of imbalancing, of selflessness, as opposed to selfishness, the dark side and the light side, that's not a thing the Jedi from 700 years ago were going to be concerning themselves about. Post Skywalker Saga Jedi, sure. Pre Skywalker Jedi, no. And I feel as though we've gone on about Star Wars long enough, so we are now going to be jumping into the gaming section. Ah, boy, because there's been so much gaming news. So, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League refuses to die. I say that because it needs to. So, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League announces huge emergency changes. I'm here to tell you right now, none of these changes you're going to give a damn about. Okay. Let's start from the top, baby. You can now get all tiers of Infamy sets from Mastery 1, even if higher ones will be don't care. The difference between the difficulty and power of different tier sets will be flattened more, and Tier 3 will be the easiest to leverage, don't care. There will be 4 new Master Grade levels, different levels of power for these weapons that will increase with higher Mastery levels. You can also now don't care. Corrupt items are sort of Diablo-style ancient items that are super rare, don't care. You'll be able to break down items you don't want for the mission complete screen. I don't even know why that wasn't a thing that was already in the game beforehand. Mutators no longer build restricting, thank God, because there is nothing worse than getting a mutator that either requires me to use a specific gun or requires me to use a specific character. There will be more incursion mechanics during missions. Example given are incursions that have burning enemies take double... Whatever. Like, if you're wondering why I don't care, it's because all of this is just a grind. Infamy sets from grind. Difficulty and power of different grind. 4 new master grind. Corrupted items, drops, grind. All of this is grind. I don't care about any of this. Did you lower the level of Joker? Because in order to play the Joker, you needed to get I don't remember what level it was, but I think you need to get like level 50 or like maybe like level 35 or 50, and then you have to go and play the exact same Brainiac mission that you played before. Did you remove the level restriction that requires me to play Joker? No. It's still there. Did you add any new story missions or new story content for Joker? Where you get to see him reacting to like this new world that he's essentially in. Missions where he goes on that he encounters characters that exist on his world but are completely different on this world. Did you add any of that? No. Are there new missions that you can essentially go on that aren't like the same 7 missions that you've been playing since the beginning of the game? No. Who cares? I think the other day they came out with something where they were talking about, oh God, we've been having we've been having server issues because our servers have been slammed. Slammed by who, good sir? Because if I was to go on Steam right now, let's see, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League player count. If I was to go on Steam right now, you guys have how many people playing this game? As of 36 minutes ago, there are 156 people playing this game. As of 24 hours peak, there were 170 peak. The maximum people who played this game in the last 24 hours was 178 people. What servers are slammed? The game's a failure. It's a bust. The base game was a bust. Season 1 was a mega bust. Season 1 got 3,000 people to get back on the game. On Steam. It got 3,000 people to get back on the game, and then it went right back down to the shitter. Right back down to 132 people. 132 people playing this game. How many people are currently playing Batman Arkham? Let's see. Batman Arkham. How many people are currently playing There are 1,449 people playing Batman Arkham Knight right now. And Arkham Knight came out damn near 10 years ago. There's 1,449. There's 1,200 more people playing Arkham Knight right now than playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League that came out this year. And I know a lot of people will probably ask, like, wow, that's heavy. Like, why are so many people playing Arkham Knight? Because it's the better game. It's the better game. I don't have to be online. There's no mega grind. There's an actual story mode that lasts multiple hours. There are hidden bosses, hidden objectives. There's a gadget leveling up system in the game that makes sense. Combat is more fluid. The game looks better. That's why. Because as it stands, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is garbage. Look at that. Batman Arkham City, which came out before Arkham Knight, has 641 people playing the game. That's 3 times more people than playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Batman Arkham Asylum, Game of the Year Edition, has 404. Batman Arkham Origins has 365. I completely forgot that Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate exists. It was a spin-off game that came out for the phones. I'm actually amazed that they ported it over to PC. That's crazy. I wonder how many people are currently playing Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights has 189 people playing it, more than Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I've harped on this before when people have talked about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League versus Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is the better game. It is the better game. It tells a better Batman story. Go play Gotham Knights and pick Jason Todd and play through the entire game as Jason Todd and tell me if it doesn't just absolutely fit that he should have been the main character of that game. There's no bouncing back. There's no coming back for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. They're going to be making changes. They're going to be adding stuff. They're going to be making the grind easier as time goes on. But as time goes on, and I've said it before, they're probably not going to make it past season 3. They're going to drop season 2. Nothing is going to change. No one people aren't majorly going to come back to play the game, and then once that happens, the game is going to close. And when it closes, the question is going to be, are you going to refund the people that spent money on your skins and your cosmetics and your fucking DLCs who got absolutely no enjoyment out of playing your game? Because what's the plan? There is no plan. The plan was always to go after people's wallets. And funny enough, we're going to segue out of Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, and we're actually going to segue into Escape from Tarkov directors losing their goddamn minds. So, it's, oh boy. Gaming has entered like this weird nebulous space over the last few years, where before late 90s, early 2000s, I'd say late 2000s as well, it was all about building up a fan base to support your brand. And what I mean by that is, when Call of Duty came out, it was all about releasing Call of Duty game, especially when you went from Call of Duty 2, Modern Warfare 2, right? That 3-game span from Call of Duty 2's first inception on the Xbox 360 as being the first major shooter game, all the way until Modern Warfare 2, it was like living in a fever dream, because everyone was die-hard fans. Yes, sometimes there'd be a map pack, but everything inside those games you had to earn. You had to, when you loaded up the game, you played through the game, you would beat the game, and you would prestige. Then you would prestige would unlock new emblems, it would unlock new skins, and then you keep on going forward from there. And then eventually the game would be like, hey, we're dropping like a 4-map bundle with some new weapons for like $10, $15. And you'd be like, all right, cool, I'll purchase that, no fucking problem. That was good. Once we exited out of the Modern Warfare 2 era, and we started moving towards Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 3, and all of the future Call of Duty games, right? It was no longer about the fans. It was now about our bottom line. How much money can we draw from these guys? How much money can we suck from their bodies and put into our bank accounts? Because you are no longer seeing us as fans. You are no longer seeing us as gamers. You are seeing us as wallets. Once that mentality shifted, where people were no longer people, they were just basically their bank account, and we needed their bank account to give us money, you started to see a more you started to see a more evil version of gaming studios, where gaming studios started to become a vampire that was just trying to suck as much funds out of you as humanly possible. Here's the game, but here's some DLC. Here's some skins. Here's some weapon skins. Here's a map pack that we're going to be dropping 2 days into the game's release. Here's a battle pass, but for $20 extra, we'll give you the prestige battle pass that has better skins and better weapon skins and has better emblems and has better emotes than the $5 battle pass that you're used to. And it just exploded from there. Remember how Kang and Loki was like, the multiversal war exploded into all-out conflict. It exploded from there, where every single video game that was an online shooter or had an online component suddenly had a battle pass. Suddenly, everybody had loot boxes. Suddenly, after loot boxes were banned in Europe, and America was like, hey, wait a minute, is this child gambling? Nobody had loot boxes anymore. But then we started selling things individually. We'd sell individual skins for $20, individual skins for $15, individual skins for $10. Hey, you know what? You're very, very creative. How about you come over here and you create a skin for our game, and we'll sell it for $20, and we'll give you 10% commission off of that. Suddenly, it was all about how much money can we absolutely make from this, because we need a passive revenue stream for our studio. In order for our studio to survive, we need to be able to make passive income. And passive income is putting in as least work as possible, but raking in as much money as humanly possible. And now you're starting to see Tarkov, who's the developers of Tarkov again? Battlestate Games. You're starting to see Tarkov enter this exact same miasmic swamp that has consumed so many developers and has pissed off fans for so many fucking years with the creation of the Unheard of Edition. And I laughed because whoever in marketing decided to call it the Unheard of Edition, you definitely knew exactly what it was that you were doing when you named it this way. Because you were like, damn, this is unheard of. I've never heard of anything like this. And I feel as though Tarkov would have been able to skate by this $250 paywall. Yes, $250 fucking dollars. You heard that right. That is the cost, or damn near the cost, of an Xbox Series S. How much is an Xbox Series S? An Xbox Series S cost is, isn't it $299? $299. It is currently $269 for a Xbox Series S, which is the smaller baby version. You can get like a $50 discount at Walmart, but $269 for an Xbox Series S. The Unheard of Edition costs $250. So for a, it's a DLC. So for a DLC to a shooter game, it would cost you the same as an entire fucking console. Now, I feel as though the Unheard of Edition would have skated by. It would have just been like this thing that was in the background. But they made two major fucking horrible decisions. The very first one was taking an entire PvE mode and locking it behind this edition. That would be the equivalent of going to play Overwatch, and Overwatch only had Team Deathmatch. And in order for you to play Move the Pavelo or Capture the Zones or any of the special holiday stuff that they do, like May's Snow Nightmare or the Reinhardt only game mode, in order for you to play any of that, you had to pay $250 in order to access it. But there's more. Because not only did they lock this mode behind $250, there's a slightly more obscure thing that they did as well, which is before this, there was a $150 edition of the game called Edge of Darkness that had certain perks and abilities that were only found in that pack. They took those out of the $150 edition. Now, you may be asking, like, oh, so they just took it out of the $150 edition and then they placed it in the $250 edition? No. That would have been too much like right. You see, what they did was they removed it. And then they removed people's access who paid the $150 edition. And then they placed it in the $250 edition. So if you paid $150 to get those perks, suddenly you no longer had access to those perks. Those perks were gone. And those perks were moved over to the $250 edition for you to pay again. Absolute fucking scummy villainy. And I love it. I love when people do dark shit like this, because all I can do is sit back and watch and like, what possessed you to make this stupid fucking decision? And it has been so catastrophic. You had everybody taking shots at them. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds took a shot at them. Helldivers 2 took a shot at them. Online commentators were taking shots at them. That the director had to come out and walk it back and apologize for the PvE controversy. You're not apologizing because, you know, you made an honest to God mistake. You're apologizing because your money grubbing pissed people off and you started losing players, and you had to do damage control as fast as fucking possible. Because if this went over extremely well, there wouldn't have been a fucking apology. You wouldn't have given two flying shits. You basically sat back and you would have raked in all of that fucking money with no complaints in any way, shape, or form. Like, they'll get over it. But it's the fact that you started seeing people, the community went up in flames. You started seeing people fucking leave. You started seeing people who've been trapped in Tarkov mentally for the last few years go, you know what, fuck this, and delete their accounts and just leave altogether. You started seeing all those people leave. You started seeing your whales leave, and you were like, "Oh my god, we made a horrible mistake, guys. We gotta walk it back. We gotta do whatever it takes to get these people back." That's what led to the apology. That's what led to the walking it back. You didn't give a shit when you originally put this out. When you originally put this out, you wanted money, and then suddenly when you realized you weren't going to get that money, that you basically set your community and the life of your game on fire. Then I had to apologize and say, "Oh my god, guys, I'm sorry. It's my mistake. You know, we thought we were doing something special, but apparently we weren't doing something special. You weren't doing anything special. You were treating people like wallets." And I think it's a fight that I really don't know when it's going to finally end. As a gamer, we're going to be stuck in this fight for the next few years, where you're going to be seeing a lot of your favorite companies. Like, shit, we just went through that with Bungie, where it literally took the entire community being in open revolt, not playing the game, not giving a shit about the game. Their numbers, their money tanking for them to actually create something that was fucking worthwhile and actually fun, that ended up drawing a lot of people back. Because before then, Destiny's numbers were down. Destiny was struggling. It was literally about to die. And it literally took them with their backs up against the wall to finally like, okay, fine. We'll get rid of all of the restrictive features that we put in that increase the grind. We'll give you guys a lot of fun loot. We'll create new modes. We'll give you guys PvP maps. We'll finally give you a subclass customization that allows you to take all the aspects of your subclass and throw it all together. We'll give all that to you. We'll even give you a gauntlet, a raid mode that just takes certain bosses and then throws them on. It took the game almost dying for them to finally make that decision. That is wild to me. That is absolutely wild to me. But I'm eating right now. Like, Destiny has never been as much fun as it's been in the last few weeks. So I'm happy that, the community rallied and almost brought the game to its fucking knees. I feel as though the Tarkov community did the exact same thing, which is the Tarkov community were ready and willing to burn the entire fucking thing down. And the developers had to look around and go, okay, we got greedy. We're sorry. We're going back to the way in which we're doing things before. Moving past Tarkov, we're actually going to be talking about Stellar Blade. It's going to be our last gaming story of the day, because boy, oh boy, do I love when the underdog becomes a success. So I spoke about Stellar Blade in a separate video before, where the sexualization of the character had pissed certain people off, and they were trying to boycott and attack the studio and attack the director and attack the game director and a bunch of other stuff. And Stellar Blade launched and instantaneously shot to the top of the PlayStation Store. Not only did it shoot to the top of the PlayStation Store as one of its most successful new IPs, it's also one of its highest rated games based on the user score rankings that exists on the PlayStation. And that's fucking hilarious to me, because it truly, and I remember I said this, I think it was it Kotaku? No, it was IGN France. IGN France had an article that they put out that attacked Stellar Blade not as like a game about its gameplay or its music or the way in which its cutscenes are designed or its combat. None of that. They attacked Stellar Blade solely based on the assets of the main character. She's cheeked up. If you've seen pictures of it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you can definitely use Google and Google Stellar Blade protagonist. And when this happened, this attack occurred, I said it's super weird that he's attacking this character, but he's defending certain other female characters, such as Bayonetta, or 2B from Near Automata, because they were also designed with sexuality in mind. It's super hilarious watching those people implode their careers with these absolutely horrible fucking takes, because everyone has to ride the woke train in some way, shape, or form. And what I mean by that is it's and I hate using the word because it pisses me off, but woke is a mentality, but it's also a duality, because you see there's woke and then there's anti-woke, and it's an entire train that's all stupid. Everybody from the front who is woke to the back who's anti-woke are all idiots, right? It's a Snowpiercer, essentially, which is the anti-woke people are the ones who are at the back of the train who believe that, you know, they're this is completely unfair that these woke liberals at the front of the train are treating us this way. And then they get to the front of the train, and then they become the woke liberals, and then a new cast of anti-woke individuals are born at the back of the train, and the cycle continues. They exist to essentially eat each other. And I despise both sides of this. I despise people who decide to white knight. I fucking despise people who decide to white knight for no apparent reason when white knighting is not needed in any way, shape, or form. And then I despise the people that attack other people for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that they feel as though this individual may or may not in the future hurt their feelings or make them feel a certain type of way. Both sides of this piss me off. So seeing Stellar Blade defy all of their hopes and all of their vitriol brings me nothing but absolute joy. Because to me it means they're sitting around somewhere in their office or in their fucking house, absolutely tight, absolutely upset and mad that this game that they were hoping that they were going to be able to cancel or get rid of or throw ridicule and shame on, or force the designer to make a change to make them feel better about themselves, or force the designer to make a change to make a group of people who never asked for the change to be made in representation to them to occur. Love it. Absolutely love it. I love when these people are ignored, because it's the best thing that you can do. Ignore the fuck out of them. Let them cannibalize each other. Stick them in a room and let them fight to the death. Giving them oxygen, giving them air, giving them attention in any way, shape, or form is an exercise in wasted time. Why? Because they are so jaded and stuck and locked in on their opinion that they will never hear reason. They'll never hear reason. They'll never come down from reason. They'll never want to turn it around and start looking at things from the way in which you're looking at them. No, they're locked in. They're locked, like Bucky and Falcon when they moved the chairs towards each other, and they were like, "You locked in? I'm locked in. We're locked in. We locked in. We kind of close, yeah, but we locked in, and we're not going anywhere." That's their mentality, and I've said it before in regards to social media. Social media has given people who operate daily on one brain cell, who have absolutely shit takes and shit ideas, this platform that allows them to be super fucking vocal and have other people with also shitty ideas and shit takes give them a check mark and give them validation with likes and views, to the point that they feel as though, okay, if 5 people agree with me, then that means I am absolutely right and everybody else is wrong. It's going to take a while before social media ends up adjusting the way in which the world was before social media took off, where we can look at these folks, and it's kind of sort of happening now with the information paragraph. I forget what it's called on X, where you'll see a post on X, and then beneath it it'll be like, for context, the picture that this individual is using in his video is taken from a situation that occurred in 2007, while the individual is talking about a situation that occurred in 2021. Neither of these situations are connected to each other because they both happened in that thing. You're seeing a lot more of that everywhere I go. I'm seeing it on X. I swear I've seen it once or twice on like TikTok, where like I'll click on somebody's description and then the description will have like a secondary description at the bottom of it explaining what's going on in the video. We need more of that. We need more of that, because when you start applying context to a lot of things that these people say, you start to realize that these people aren't saying a lot of anything. But that's the end of our video for the day today. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. Hit me with a like. Subscribe to the channel. The channel is Blerdly. If you're watching me in the future on Twitch, it's Blerdcalibur on Twitch. And if you're just watching this in podcast form and you're driving around, I hope you're safe. I hope your day is awesome. I hope you're not fucking stressed. And I hope that whoever at your job site you don't like ends up walking into a fucking wall and knocking themselves out. But outside of that, enjoy the rest of your weekend, if it is the weekend, or just in general, enjoy the rest of your day. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace.